Hello everyone, I'm Rishi, and today we'll be going over quadratic equations when the coefficient is not equal to 1. So a quick review from the past video. Quadratic equations are nonlinear equations, which means they look like parabolas, which is any curved thing on a graph. They also have a squared term, known as the quadratic term. So the format is ax squared plus bx plus c. So this is our quadratic term, this is our linear term, and this is our constant term. Now you might be used to the linear and constant terms in linear equations, but we're now going to be looking at quadratic equations when this a, so the coefficient of the quadratic term, is not 1. Okay, so let's get started and let's walk through a problem together. So 5x squared plus 11x plus 2 is equal to 0. So the first step, which is a bit different from quadratics when the coefficient is 1, is to multiply a and c together. And in order to make this a bit easier, I'm actually just going to write the format down here. Okay, so our a we can see is 5, our b is 11, and our c is 2. So the first step is to multiply a and c. So when we multiply ac, in this case 5 and 2, we get 10. So ac is equal to 10. Now, we're just going to go through the steps that we did when the coefficient was equal to 1. So I'm going to take 10. What are the factors of 10? Well, we have 1 and 10, 2 and 5, and those are it. Now, when we add both of these up, we get 11 and 7. And which one of these is equal to b? 11 is our b. So that means the two terms that we're going to split up the middle term into is 1x, or x, and 10x. So we can rewrite this quadratic equation as 5x squared plus 1x plus 10x plus 2 is equal to 0. So that means our second step is to split this middle term. So our second step is to split the middle term. So now that we have this, we're just going to go through the same steps that we did in our previous video. I'm going to erase this so I have a little bit more space. So we know that the greatest common factor of 5x squared and 1x, or we can just rewrite this as x, is x. So x times x plus 5 plus 2 times x plus 5 is equal to 0. And we can combine the x and the 2 because they're the coefficients of the same binomial. So if these two were different, we couldn't combine the x and the 2. So a good way to know that you're solving the quadratic correctly is if the two binomials are equivalent. So if you have x plus 5 and x plus 5, or etc., you're on the right track. So now we combine the x and the plus 2. So x plus 2 times the x plus 5 is equal to 0. The third step we have is to combine, or no, not to combine. The third step we have is to factor. The fourth step we have is to combine the coefficients. Okay, so now that we have that, we know that due to the multiplicative property of 0, one of these terms has to be 0. Because for any two numbers this product to be 0, one of them does have to be 0. So either x plus 2 is equal to 0, or x plus 5 is equal to 0. And this is a simple one-step equation. We can solve and get x equals -2 and x equals -5. So our fifth step and final step is solve equations for 0. So you might notice that we have two solutions, and quadratic equations have two solutions. And these solutions are actually x-intercepts. So I'm going to erase this up here. And if we have this graph, this coordinate plane, a parabola is going to look like this, right? So it crosses the x-axis. It crosses the x-axis at two different points. So that's why we have two solutions. So here, it would look more like we had a coordinate plane, and it looks something like this, where this would be -5 and this being -2. So that's how our parabola would look. In conclusion, our solutions are x equals -2 and -5. So now we're going to do another practice problem, really quickly. And then you guys can go and practice on your own and really strengthen the skill. So our next practice problem is 7x squared minus 13x equals 2. Now you're probably not used to seeing a quadratic equation like this because you don't have a 0 on the right side. There's a simple fix of just subtracting the 2 from both sides. So then you'll get 7x squared minus 13x minus 2. We subtract 2 from here, we're just going to get 0. So now we have that ax squared plus bx, or minus bx, minus 2 equals 0. So ax squared plus bx minus 2, minus c is equal to 0. So multiplying a and c, we get -14. The factors of -14 are 14, -1, -14 and 1, 7 and -2, -7 and 2. So these are our factors. And now when we add all of them, remember when we add a negative, from our integer operations video, when we add a negative, it's just the same as subtraction. So it's going to be 13, this is going to be -13, 5, and -5. So the -13 matches up with our b. So we're now going to split the middle term. Okay, so 7x squared, and just to remind us, our terms were -14 and +1. So 7x squared minus 14x plus x equals minus 2 is equal to 0. So 7x x minus 2 plus 1 x minus 2 is equal to 0. So now we can combine the coefficients. So we've already factored, we've done step 3. Now we want to combine the coefficients. So 7x plus 1 times x minus 2 is equal to 0. And then solve the equations for 0. 7x plus 1 is equal to 0. X minus 2 is equal to 0. So in this equation, we're going to get x is equal to -1/7. And in this equation, we're going to get x is equal to 2. So Finally, we have our two solutions using these 5 steps of the quadratic equations when the coefficient is not equal to 1. Thank you for watching. I really hope this video helped improve your understanding of quadratics, and make sure you practice so you can really get this concept down. Thank you, and bye.